Who's ready to get a little bit better? If so, you should comment yes or say yes or yell it randomly down the road. Just say yes, just to see if anybody will react. Let's do it. Let's get a little bit better. And I want to talk to you about something that's very significant. And, I think as a coach, having been a pastor for 25 years as well, and now coaching people all over the country, all different seasons of life. And this is something that I come into, and people use a lot of different language around this. But I encounter people so often who feel, in a word, lost. They feel confused. They feel aimless, directionless. And again, they may talk about it a lot of different ways, but what do we do when we feel lost? What do we do when we feel like I don't know where I'm going? I don't have clarity about what my next step is. And what do you do when you feel lost? And let me share a little story with you. My wife and I were dating. We were going to school in Kentucky, Wilmore, Kentucky at Asbury College. And we went for the first trip to visit her family in Richmond, Virginia. And I share that detail because we were heading down 75, and you basically get on 75 at Lexington and you take it all the way. And I may, maybe laugh at me because I might get this direction wrong here, even as I retell the story. But we were going, and then at some point, I think it's 75 and 81 split off. And I missed the split off or something. And it was late at night. We're driving to the wee hours. It's like an 8-hour trip. And my wife was asleep. By the way, I always say I don't have a sense of direction. I married a sense of direction. But she was asleep. And I remember starting to see signs for Washington, D.C. And the mile markers, it kept getting closer and closer, guys. And can I just tell you, there came a moment where I felt lost. And did I stop immediately? Did I wake my wife up immediately? Did I, gentlemen? Come on, let's go ahead and stereotype here. No, of course I didn't, because I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I keep going a little further, maybe I saw that sign wrong. Maybe the lights were not totally, this is what happened. This is my rationale. The lights were out on the signage when the split happened, and so that's why I missed it. And this was pre-Siri too, so thank God for Siri. But don't we do that when we get lost? Instead of asking for help, instead of stopping, instead of stopping and pulling out a map and saying, where am I and what is that? Oftentimes, instead of stopping and doing what is necessary, we keep going in the wrong direction. In fact, I read a quote this past week. I actually picked up a book that my wife was reading. Here's a quote from a author named Ann Voskamp. And she said this: unless we make time for daily reflection, we can be making a road in the wrong direction. Say it quick enough and it sounds a little sing-songy. Unless we make time for daily reflection, we can be making a road in the wrong direction. So I want to answer this question. What do I do when I feel lost? Well, let me just tell you, what do you do so you don't feel lost? What do you do to avoid that feeling of aimless, directionless, purposelessness? What can you do to avoid getting to that place? One answer: daily reflection. Life is moving at too fast of a pace. We got too many things to do, and when we just go, and we're too busy to stop and ask for help, we're too busy to get clear about where we're going, about the direction. And I know you, just like me, you've ended up going months, maybe even years, ending up in the wrong direction. I had a conversation with someone real close to me this week, and the conversation was, I've realized that the last 3 years, I didn't make any progress. Right? But how does that happen? Well, because if you don't make time for daily reflection, if you don't have a way to hit the pause button, to stop, to look around, to ask some questions, to observe, to reflect, to look inward, if you don't have time for daily direction, listen, at some point or another, you're going to end up going in the wrong direction. And you're going to unavoidably end up feeling lost, aimless, directionless. So, can I just give you 4 ways to create space for daily reflection? 4 ways to create space for daily reflection. Now, you'll obviously see some overlap in these because they're all ways to create space for daily reflection, but the methodology, the strategy is a little bit differently. So, way number 1, meditation. If you don't like the word meditation, silence, stillness, the whole idea is like this is not meditation, although some of you might like to do this. You might even sit Indian style, sit on a pillow. Like I'm cool if you want to do that, but meditation, the way I'm describing it, is about stillness. It's about ceasing from activity. See that dead air it was awkward for you, wasn't it? Because we don't like that. We like the noise of constant. We like the movement. Like you're not tuning into this video to get still. You're tuning into this video to learn something. They're like, all right, Mark, give me something. Don't give me dead air. But meditation, that stillness, that quietness on a daily basis creates space. There's a book I read in college, required reading for a philosophy class by a guy named Parker Palmer, I think was his name. But the quote from that book that marked me and continues to this day was, silence creates space for learning. Silence creates space for learning. When the space is all filled up with noise, there's no room for learning. By the way, little tangent here. If you want to learn more in a relationship, whether that's business or a personal relationship or with your children, listen more. Quiet your own voice and listen. And that silence will create space for learning. But we're talking about you right now, right? How do you avoid getting to that place of loss and aimless and directionless? You create time for daily reflection. One of the ways to do that is through meditation or stillness, quietness. And in that silence, it might just be sitting and breathing. It might be getting outdoors in nature and just creating some stillness and quietness and listen to the waves or the waves crash on the beach. If you got that, that's good. That's like God shows up at the beach. You listen to the leaves rustle in the wind, but you just get quiet and listen. Listen to your own thoughts. Maybe listen to a higher power. Maybe listen to the things that you haven't heard from yourself because you've been too busy and too active. But that silence creates space for learning. So, number 1 way to create space for daily reflection, meditation, stillness, quietness. Number 2 way, prayer. Now, I love Jesus a whole lot, so I'm not projecting that you have to believe what I believe, but like prayer and connecting with my Creator, there's no better way for me to create that space for daily reflection. Because here's the thing. If everything going on in my world rests on my shoulders, then I have to carry it. I have to maintain it. But when I slow down and I pray and I connect with my God, I am reminded that it's bigger than me. And that I got a God that loves me just the way I am, not the way I should be. And I don't have to get it all right. And I don't have to perform. And I don't have to be perfect. But I can just be reminded in that daily time of reflection, of connecting with my Creator, that I'm loved. Oh, man, that feels good. I'm loved and I'm enough without doing anything else. And so daily reflection. And by the way, the good definition of prayer my pastor taught me many, many years ago, prayer is communing and conversing with, asking and receiving from God. I'll say it again. It's communing and conversing with, and it's also asking and receiving. So it's a two-way conversation. It's a dialogue with the Creator. And I can't think of a better way to create that daily space of reflection. Number 3, thinking time. I'm borrowing that language from Keith Cunningham, who wrote an amazing book, business book called The Road Less Stupid. You all should read it. The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And in that book, in the early chapter, he talks about the power of thinking time. Now, I'm borrowing the language, but what I'm talking about here is literally just slowing down enough to create space to think, to reflect. And the way he frames it, and the way I would as well, is the most powerful thing you can do when you slow down to think is to ask questions. When you slow down and you begin to think, you ask yourself questions. Is this what I want? Is this what I'm meant to do? Is this the kind of relationship that I'm willing to accept? What do I really want? What would move my business forward? What is the one thing that is most important? What is the one thing that if I do it, everything else would become easier? And you begin to ask in that thinking time, creating that space. By the way, some of you you're not like journaling, but you might have thinking time with someone else. And you verbally process it, but you have to create that space to talk about the things that matter most, to think about the things that matter most, to ask the most important questions. And the most important question is not what is on my to-do list today. The most important question is what should be on that to-do list. What should I be doing? What are the most important things? And so thinking time. And then finally, number 4, way to create space for daily reflection. This is going to be a shock to anybody that's seen any of my videos. Journaling. And coincidentally, everything that I've already talked to you about, like it comes together for me in journaling. So there's prayer, there's meditation, there's stillness, there's quietness, and there's definitely thinking time that happens in a journal. I've been journaling for almost 20 years, and I left it to the end. But if you can find a better way for daily reflection to capture, to process, to think, to know thyself, to understand what's going on in your life and on the inside of you, if you can find a better way than journaling, go ahead, tell me what it is. Drop it in the comments, because I have not, to this day, found a better way to create space for daily reflection than journaling. You can do it however you need to. There's a bazillion different ways to do it, but scientifically, they've proven that just 15 minutes writing in a journal on a daily basis, whether that's gratitude or vision or processing life in real time, it has health benefits. It has mental health. It has physical health benefits. It is a powerful, powerful tool. And that tool, I would tell you guys, journaling is the most powerful habit of my life. And again, it brings in a lot of those spiritual habits and different things that are primary and core to my life. But this is where it all comes together for me. And if you want an effective tool to create space for daily reflection so that you don't end up feeling lost, it's a great tool. And you should try it. I happen to know there's a great course called the 60-Day Journaling Challenge. Oh, wait, I created that just for you. I created it years ago because I just had to capture the process and some of the wisdom and the experiences that I've had in it. So if you're curious about that, drop a comment in the chat and I will drop you a link for the 60-Day Journaling Challenge. It's a pretty small investment for how much power it can bring to your life. So how do you avoid feeling lost? Daily reflection, create the space so you don't end up going in the wrong direction. I hope this served you. I love you guys. I want you to move with power and confidence and clarity in the right direction, but you're not going to be able to do it if you don't create some space for that daily reflection. So I hope maybe you tap back into that. Maybe you start it for the first time. Use some of these tools and strategies. I love you guys. This is where you should get off this video right now. You should go out there and give your greatness to the world, because somebody needs what's on the inside of you. Do not hold it back. Don't do it because somebody needs you. Go give it away. I love you guys. Have a great week.